Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Glenn Coyne. I'm a member of the worship committee. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and the joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. If you're logging on today for the first time, we're glad you've joined us and hope you'll stay for informal conversation and breakout groups after the service. Let us open our hearts and minds to the experience of community and the wisdom of love.
To savor the world or save it. This is a reading by Richard S. Gilbert. I rise in the morning torn between the desire to save the world or to savor it, to serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with exuberant step or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. What am I to do when the guilt at my bounty clouds the sky of my vision, when the glow which lights my every day illumines the hurting world around me? To savor the world or save it? God of justice, if such there be, take from me the burden of my question. Let me praise my plenitude without limit. Let me cast from my eyes all troubled folk. No, you will not let me be. You will not stop my ears to the cries of the hurt and the hungry. You will not close my eyes to the sight of the afflicted. What is that you say? To save, one must serve. To savor, one must save. the one will not stand without the other? Forgive me in my preoccupation with myself, in my concern for my own life. I had forgotten. Forgive me, God of justice. Forgive me and make me whole.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, we then create peace, where justice shall roll down like water, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll be a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins in generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like books of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build the land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Our challenge lighting this morning is called That Which Abides by Kirby Capital. Through the week, this chalice abides, cupped and silent. Softly it gleams in a dimly lit room, complete unto itself. Today, we come together as a community of faith, joyful and free. Our individual energies combine to spark the flame of truth. May we draw strength from each other, and like the chalice, may we be bathed in the fire of commitment to social justice, equity, and peace. Good morning. My name is Ken Drake. I am the coordinator of the Social Justice Council here at UUUtica. Before I begin this presentation this morning, I want to thank Reverend Lori Stavitz, Glenn Coyne, Melissa Barlett, Alex Jackson, Bob Ford, Diane Stebbins, and Doreen Markson for their collaboration in making this service possible. This morning, I will examine what Unitarian Universalists are doing on the national, regional, state, and local levels to advocate for social justice. I will describe the work of the UUA Central East Region, state-level legislative ministries, and faith communities like ours. I will give some examples as to what each entity is doing to advocate for a more just, equitable, and peaceful world. I have a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King I want to read to set the stage for my presentation. He said in a speech of April 1967, "We must rapidly begin to shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered." I wonder what King would make of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if he were alive today. Imagine if you live in a world wherein racial superiority, conspicuous consumption, and saber rattling are non-existent. Imagine a world in which human beings are treated with dignity, respect, and compassion, regardless of their skin color, nationality, religious affiliation, gender, disability, or who they choose to love. Imagine a world where social media is used primarily to foster respect for the individual, while simultaneously promoting a sense of shared values and institutions for the purpose of building a diverse and multicultural, beloved community. Where does the UUUtica stand in this grand scheme of things? I visualize a large sphere, diverse and vibrant. This large sphere represents the UUA. Inside of it are spheres of differing sizes, representing the various state organizations that exist or which are currently evolving. There will be less than 50 states or spheres because not every state is organized. Some states are in the process of organizing while others may never do so. Inside of each of these state spheres is a set of spheres of different sizes representing local congregations. There is a great deal of energy or sense of purpose within this largest spheroid. It is up to each of us to do what we can to push this ball of justice and equity, if you will, for all people uphill towards the people-oriented society that King sought. The Unitarian Universalist Association provides Unitarian Universalists with information and programs for state and regional entities to go forth and do the good work. I receive frequent communications from the UUA program side with love that contain a statement of purpose and a call to action on a variety of issues. A recent example arrived in my inbox on Friday, October 16th. UUers joined with a global faiths and climate justice mobilization hosted by Green Faith and co-sponsored by the UUA, UU Ministry for Earth, and other faith partners. Suggested actions included an action map for those who would be able to attend the protest, a way for UUers to attend a virtual rally, and a long-term commitment to amplify the voices of Indigenous peoples in the struggle for sovereignty and climate justice, beginning on the 17th of this month and lasting through November 30th. On October 20th, an alert from Side with Love and new NYUU Justice arrived in my inbox with a call for action for participation in a pop-up rally and a letter writing campaign to elected officials because the U.S. Senate blocked the Freedom to Vote Act. These regular messages are constant reminders of ongoing actions against injustice by Unitarian Universalists. I must confess, all of this information can be overwhelming. There is so much injustice in the world, it is difficult for one individual to participate in every call for action, as one should on a regular basis. That is why I implore you this morning to become involved with the workings of the UUU Social Justice Council. A number of years ago, I copied the following excerpt from the UU World magazine under the heading, The Moral Manifesto. It reads in part, "We say enough. As communities of faith and conscience, we have a moral obligation to call out evil in high places, to challenge the lies we are being fed, and to refocus our nation's attention on the conditions that are leaving people and places locked up, locked out, and left behind. Any hope for a new future demands that there be a reckoning, a moment to unapologetically expose the ugly truths of our nation's past and present, and we declare that that moment is now. We are enough. We are the ones we have been waiting for. As determined spirits, fired by an unshakable faith in the bold, transformative vision for the future of our nation, we have the power to alter the course of history. We will not stop, nor will we be satisfied until every person in this country enjoys full access to the opportunity to thrive and to live a life of dignity. On the UUA.org website, you will find a wealth of information about social justice advocacy and ideas for involvement. For every category of justice and inclusion, there is a plethora of important information under each category. Under racial justice, for instance, you can read about what the UUA is doing to address systemic racism. Programs include Black Lives Matter and building a movement for racial justice, support for the Poor People's Campaign, Doctrine of Discovery, Love Resists, and multicultural leadership and inclusion. There are also study guides, statements of conscience, and amicus briefs to read and absorb to gain a deeper insight into the work of the UUA. To summarize, and I quote, "Justice is at the core of our faith. Our congregations are called to make a positive difference in our wider communities. We at the UUA work to serve, to raise awareness, and to support and partner with people who face injustice. We advocate, organize, and act for justice to live out the values of our faith." Our church is in the Central East region of the UUA. Our contact person is Reverend Aaron Carvel-Zimer. The Central East region staff provides a series of events and webinars, programs for leaders and congregants, workshops, youth programs, and links resources for congressional leaders. Information about the Central East region can be found, again, on the UUA website. UUNY Justice is in the developmental phase as a legislative ministry in our state. Despite not being fully operational, it is active in advocating for halting solitary confinement in prisons, UUs for climate justice, and compassion and choices and death with dignity. I, again, get frequent updates from NYUU Justice because I am registered as the contact person for UUUtica. NYUU Justice is an outgrowth of interfaith impact. UUUtica is a proud founding member of this state organization. For an exceptional example of a state legislative ministry, I recommend you take a look at what the UUers in the state of Maryland are doing. I accessed the organizational spreadsheet on their website called Current Status of Priority Bills and Actions to Take to learn how the ministry keeps track of bills on a number of issues before the Maryland legislature. I assume that NYUU Justice will have something similar to this in the future. Similar to what is happening at the state level, we here at UUUtica are in the redevelopment or restructuring phase when it comes to social justice advocacy and action. Eventually, our social justice initiatives will be more targeted, faith-centered, and purposeful. The development of this council, under the guidance of Reverend Maury Stobbins and adopted by the Board of Trustees, was created for the important purpose of bringing more structure to our work of advocating for social justice. The council provides a framework for every member of the congregation to be engaged in social justice advocacy. There are two officially recognized ministries at the UUUtica, the Inclusion Team and the Climate Action Team. Two important considerations were discussed at the organizational of the council on Thursday, May 20th. One, our congregation is small, so any social action or social justice initiative that's undertaken must be done in a well-planned way to avoid overextending the work of the church. Two, social justice initiatives aren't silos to be addressed in isolation, as our congregant Judy Jerome mentioned at the meeting. They are intersectional. Thus, there needs to be definitive cooperation and agreement on reachable goals from these activities within our faith community before our church can undertake an action either independently or collectively in cooperation with the other organizations. As coordinator of the council, I plan to schedule a meeting once a month for the purpose of member engagement. In addition, I will use other tools such as a survey to ascertain what issue or issues each individual congregant is or are passionate about, and to analyze this data to come to a consensus on what targeted, faith-centered, and purposeful initiatives or initiative we can take as a faith community to address that particular issue. We'll also examine various forms of We'll also examine the ways various forms of oppression are interconnected. The self-described Black lesbian mother, warrior, poet, Audre Lorde wrote, "There is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live in a single issue life." Kimberly W. Crenshaw, a pioneer scholar and writer on civil rights, critical race theory, Black feminist legal theory, and racism in the law, coined the term intersectionality to explain the way all oppression is linked. An intersectional approach acknowledges systemic discrimination due to sexual orientation and identity, national origin, and ability. Crenshaw and others study how one's identity and systemic discrimination impacts access to opportunity. An intersectional perspective deepens the understanding that there is diversity and nuance in the ways in which people hold power. This perspective is an important one, and we need to learn more about it. I also want to resurrect the UU Writers Workshop and to rename it as the UUU Legislative Action Group. If all we do is to tell the truth and educate and inform our neighbors, we will accomplish something significant. Too many Americans are polarized, brainwashed, and misinformed. Recently, I listened to a podcast during which the noted documentarian Ken Burns was asked what he considered to be the three most pressing ills facing America today. He said there are three viruses affecting us: the pandemic, the stain of racism, and the prevalence of conspiracy theories and disinformation. The UU Writers Workshop was initiated a number of years ago by the then Social Action Committee after the 2018 presidential election. A group of concerned citizens met here at our church. Those present were concerned about the future of our country. Ken Maslin, a local professor, headed up the group, which was later named Rise Up Mohawk Valley. Our own Marissa Barlett created the following acronym using the letters of Rise Up. Resisting inequality and suffering by empowering and unifying people, which I like very much. The mission of the group was to join with others to protect our community. We all pledged to stand up and oppose all discriminating and damaging practices and behavior that exist in our region. Sadly for me, the group Rise Up Mohawk Valley was unable to form itself into a viable movement specifically for social justice, but did eventually morph into the political action group, Indivisible Mohawk Valley. Let's review where we are and what has been happening here at UUUtica since June in regards to social justice. Melissa Barlett conducted a book club type discussion of Me and White Supremacy by Layla Said, so we could realize how systems and institutions are structured to uphold white dominance. On September 5th, Leslie Ross and Sandy Carter Steffner of the New York State United Teachers gave a presentation called Stop Still Marching, Unions and the Work of Social Justice. I would like to mention at this time that I am a retiree of NYSUT and past president of our local retiree council and current head of the Social Justice Political Action Subcommittee of that group. As a member of NYSUT, I have marched in New York City, Washington, D.C., and at the New York State Fair in the field. Patrick Johnson conducted a workshop called Understanding White Supremacy and Racism and its Impact on our Community on Saturday, September 18th. On the 19th, activist and social justice advocate Richard Gilbert delivered a sermon entitled Engaging Spirituality, Confessions of a Mystic Militant. On Saturday, October 2nd, a group of us marched in Utica in support of a woman's right to choose. Our own Judy Rome was instrumental in encouraging our church to sponsor the event and for some of us to march. Reverend Lori Stoppett's sermon on October 3rd, entitled Bridges Across the Color Lines, again addressed the issue of race relations. National Coming Out Day, organized by the Inclusion Team with Speaker Aaron Sievers from NBCC, was celebrated on the 10th. And last Sunday, Reverend Janet Stemmer delivered a sermon called Loving Deeply. All of these recent happenings and events and sermons and services can inform and inspire us as we move forward. Even though we are a small congregation, our voices and our actions can be big. We can all be instruments of change, determined to lay the foundation for the person-oriented society King envisioned. The Canton UU Church serves as a good example of what can happen at the local level. The Church of Canton has 3 social justice ministries. They are Faith in Action Leadership Group, Social Justice Initiative, and Environmental Action. Visit the church's website to gain more, to read more about what is happening at that particular church. When I did, I was interested in their social justice mission statement. Social justice is a value deeply woven into the fabric of Unitarian Universalism and made explicit in our 7 UU principles. At the Church of Canton, we put our principles and passions into actions in many ways. Our church's social action work seeks to help all members of the congregation live their values by providing information and education, on issues at the local, national, and international levels, and offering opportunities for advocacy and action. The challenges we Unitarian Universalists and other social activists face in the quest to make the world more just, equitable, and peaceful are formidable. We are fortunate at UUUtica to realize that we are one among many Unitarian Universalists standing on the side of love, striving to put our principles into practice. Other congregations in our locality, NYUU Justice, and the UUA are there for and with us. I encourage every UUUtica member to stay informed about these international, national, state, and local level issues, and to engage in opportunities for advocacy and action whenever possible. Your involvement could fall under one or more of the following types of activities: hands-on activities, education research, community action activities, working for systemic change through letter writing campaigns to the editor or elected officials, or by joining an outside group working for reform in a particular area of need. As a final call to action, I will read an excerpt from the Declaration of Conscience that appeared in the UU magazine in the spring of 2017. It reads, as people of conscience, we declare our commitment to translate our values into actions as we stand on the side of love with the most vulnerable among us. We welcome and invite all to join in this commitment for justice. The time is now. Blessed be, and let it be so.
I'd like to read the benediction, Love is Our Greatest Purpose, by J. Abernathy Jr. He says, we affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. And so we pledge our hearts, our minds, and our hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And they say, blessed be, and let it be so.